happen. And now these recordings, when it's done, we'll get it rendered and I'll send it to MACo and they'll be able to post it on their website. And I believe we'll host it as well. Or if you'd like a copy of it, feel free to email me and I'll send it to you. Welcome everyone to our twice a month town hall meeting. My name's Dan Clark and I'm the director of the Local Government Center at Montana State University, hosting this town hall meeting in partnership with the Montana Association of Counties. Today we have four items on our agenda. We're going to begin today's session with hearing from Senator Tester, follow with question and answer. When Senator Tester is completed with his comments and discussion, we will then hear from Commissioner Mary Jo McGuire from Ramsey County, Minnesota. She is going to be running for the NACo second vice president. She's a candidate for that office, and she would like to spend a few minutes just visiting with the commissioners here in Montana. And then any time remaining, we will spend with Eric and company, giving us a legislative update with Eric, Jason, and Chantel. So that's how today's session is going to play out. I'll just do a quick reminder. We'll try to, if you could please stay muted until you have a question. Then we'll ask you, we'll call upon you, unmute yourself, and then you can ask your question. You can also use the chat feature to ask any questions, and we'll be monitoring the chat and relaying your questions to whomever they're directed to. And you can raise your hand. There's a raise your hand feature if you open up the participant list and you find your name. And where your name is, if you hover your cursor over the top of your name, you'll see a little raise hand symbol. You click on that, that'll indicate to us who would like to ask a question, and it will go in order for us. So between the hand raising and you'll be able to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question. So that's how today's gonna move forward. And with that, I think I will turn the time over to Eric to introduce our special guest, Senator Tester.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. And you don't need to hear from me when we have a special guest, and he doesn't need an introduction. He is your senior senator from Montana, Senator Tester.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. And look, it's a pleasure to be here today. And I think that, you know, before I get into the Rescue Act, I'll just say if there's one good thing that's come out of this pandemic is force people to do these kind of virtual meetings, which I think are going to be around a while, that I don't think we'd be doing otherwise, quite frankly. And I think it's a positive thing. And it's a pleasure to be with you guys today. I want to thank all the commissioners and the county staff for stepping up to serve your communities. Your counsel and feedback was invaluable to help me get some of your priorities into the recent coronavirus relief package. The American Rescue Plan, well, I mean, it's a targeted direct investment into our local communities, small businesses, our economy, and much of your feedback was needed on this bill. And I think it ultimately took it a long ways to make it work for Montana. And let me give you a few examples. With your help, we were able to secure about $1.37 billion for Montana's state, county, and local governments. Of this, a projected $207 million will be going directly to Montana counties. And I did confirm this week with Secretary Treasury Yellen that said the Treasury will be issuing guidance on these expenditures within the next 30 days. They have 60 days to do it, but this bill was passed about 30 days. And she also pointed out that the guidance would prevent any state from skimming off the top for any costs, including admin costs. So this money should all go right straight to you. And using your input, I work to ensure that the counties have greater flexibility with this funding than in previous rounds of funding. That means you're going to be able to cover costs and shortfalls that were caused by the pandemic and the financial crisis, as well as make critical improvements to your community's water, sewer, broadband infrastructure. Those changes were made late in the process, and the specific needs that you shared with me were incredibly helpful in making the case to my colleagues as we were finishing writing this bill. We were also able to include $10 billion for the State Small Business Credit Initiative, which will support small businesses financing throughout your communities. As you know, this program was incredibly successful in Montana following the previous financial crisis, where states' SSBCI program supported nearly $8.4 billion in new capital for communities across Montana. I also used your feedback to help address Montana's housing crisis, which is huge all across Montana, bringing in funding for rental assistance, for housing vouchers, for homeless assistance, for homeowner assistance fund, and for housing counseling through NeighborWorks. It's a long list, but there's a lot of issues out there. But the real bottom line here is getting these safe and effective vaccines in the arms of Montanans and communities across the state as well as quickly as possible. And that's exactly what this package also does. We managed to invest a whopping $200 billion into vaccine production, procurement, distribution. We're seeing the benefits of that, which is helping increase our supply of vaccines and bring us closer every day to getting things back to normal, a day that I cannot wait for. The sooner we get things back to normal, the sooner folks from every county, I'll list you, from Lincoln to Carter, from Beaverhead to Sheridan, go back to work and get our economies up and running again. At the end of the day, I'll just say that the American Rescue Plan really provides your counties with resources to help you recover from the pandemic and also make critical investments into your community. I'm going to be holding the Biden administration accountable to make sure that they're able to get these funds to you as soon as possible so that you can get them to work as soon as possible. With that, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your input. I am joined by several of my my staff members, including Chief of Staff, Dylan Lazovich, and Policy Advisor Elizabeth Connolly. If you give me tough questions, I'll just throw it to Elizabeth. If you give me easy ones, I'll answer them. With that, we'll get to some questions. But thanks, Eric. Thanks for allowing me to be part of this.
Absolutely. And as Dan said, you can do the chat function, you can raise your hand, but you have a unique opportunity. And I just want to say before we get into the question and answers, the senator kind of glossed over his role in those changes in the ARPA bill, and we're not going to let him get away with that. I think he was primarily responsible for inserting the provisions that allowed for water, wastewater, and broadband to be eligible expenses in this bill. That is going to make significant and long-term beneficial impacts to our local communities, and we owe him a thanks for that. So don't let him just pretend like he glossed over that, and then pepper him with questions, please.
Thanks, Eric.
So we have a question from Rosebud County.
Hi, Senator Tester, this is Bob Lee.
Hey, Bob.
Your staff reached out to me when I asked you the question about the COVID money for our local hospital. And Robin had sent an email saying that, they're trying to get more information, but I haven't heard anything for a while. Have you heard of any changes on how they're going to handle some of that hospital funding? Because as of today, we still have a June 30th deadline to use that $3 million.
Oh, on the COVID money. Okay, all right. Boy, I'm glad you clarified that. Boy, I thought we extended those deadlines once. Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't they extended out?
We had, but we are still staring at that June deadline. We can circle back and give it done. I think what we've been dealing with a lot are getting guidelines out. So we'll circle back. I think we're still waiting on an answer for that, but we'll get back to you this afternoon.
So Bob, we just extended PPP yesterday from that end of March deadline out.
Okay, here you go.
Can you hear me?
No, but can you hear anything yet? No.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You guys hear me? So Bob, we extended the PPP out yesterday. We're going to work to continue to give you flexibility. If you need an extension on that, and that's something that is important, we'll work to make that happen. Sometimes it takes a congressional act to do that, which is fine. We occasionally work together and do that kind of stuff.
Okay, I appreciate that. Like I said, we're in the process of doing a big remodel, but we have that June 30th deadline. We're going to get it done by June 30th, but it's good. just make it a lot more expensive.
Yeah, no, we don't want to do that. We want to maximize the ability of those dollars to go as far as they can. So we will work on that, and I will make sure, and especially good when other people are on the call, because then they can take notes too, and I don't have to worry about forgetting. So that's good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Tester.
You bet. Thank you. Anybody else, Eric?
Well, I'm going to ask you one while they're getting queued up. One of the things that we're concerned about with our own legislative process is there's an interest among our legislature to put conditions on the distribution of maybe their funds and maybe our funds. Thankfully for the counties, the allocations through the ARPA funds are coming directly from U.S. Treasury. So I'm not that concerned that the legislature mistakenly thinks that they can hamstring or condition the acceptance. But for the roughly $3 billion they're getting, there's draft amendments that show things like punitive withholdings for COVID restrictions in certain communities, or cash match provisions for some investments in water, wastewater, and broadband infrastructure. And I guess in your discussions with Treasury, how much flexibility is the state legislature going to have to put what are frankly absurd conditions on the use of these funds?
So they're going to get, and correct me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth, but they're going to get about 1.3 billion is going to go to the governor's office, basically. The legislature is going to want to put their stamp on it, as you know. When I was in the legislature, I'd want to do the same thing. But hopefully they won't condition us. I mean, the key to this, what makes this money really valuable, in my opinion, is flexibility and being able to use it for water projects, when I can tell you guys that virtually every damn water and sewer system in the state needs repair of some kind. Some of them are totally wore out, is really important. So I hope that once we get past paying for basic necessities, which should be done first, being able to use those extra funds without conditions is really, really, really important. I'm not the governor. I'm a U.S. senator. I think the intent from Congress was to try to do as much good with this money as possible and not try to hamstring people from getting projects done. There are a lot, I'll just give you an example, Eric, and it helps many of the counties that are out there, but there are a lot of regional water projects that money could be used for, that I think are critically important to moving the economy of Montana along, particularly rural economies. And hopefully they'll think about that. But boy, I would surely discourage them from making it cash matches. Or I met with some press folks yesterday, and they asked about. They said there was a bill that was going to prohibit money, the school money going to schools if school boards put on additional COVID measures. I think that's really short-sighted. Leave it. You know, they always say the government close to the people is the best government, and that is true. And whether it's county commissioners or whether it's municipal councils or whether it's school boards, you guys put on conditions because you think they're important to put on. And I would hope that the state wouldn't overrun you on that.
I appreciate that, Senator. I think we agree wholeheartedly with that sentiment. Get the money out, get it to good use, and let's do some projects that we can be proud of tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, this is a time when we can actually move this state forward in a big, big way and really create jobs in all areas of the state of Montana, and we should do that.
Great. We've got a question for Mike McGinley in Beaverhead County. Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Senator, and great work on this ARPA plan, and especially on getting that flexibility. In Beaverhead County, we just finished the Jackson Water and Sewer Project here in the last year. Wisdom was just done 5 years ago. I don't really know a lot about the broadband, except the South Beaverhead County's got all the broadband in. Southern Montana's got a $5 million grant to do north part in the Big Hole. So my question is do you think any of this ARPA money could be extended to roads and bridges?
So that's a great question. That's a great question, Mike. And I think, I don't know this for a fact, but I think that there's going to be an infrastructure bill that focuses a lot on transportation, both roads and bridges, and by the way, air transportation too, which is also becoming more and more important in our state. And I think those issues will be covered in that bill if we're able to get it across the finish line. And that's how I would approach it. If you think that there's going to be enough money here to take care of the water, the broadband may not be an issue in your county, but it's also very, very important. Hell, this is how we're meeting right now, is with broadband infrastructure. We can continue having this conversation and try to figure it out. As of right now, though, Mike, just to be flat honest with you, I think the flexibility that's there for water and sewer and broadband is all the flexibility that I know about. I don't think it goes beyond that.
Thank you.
Although I will tell you this, I just talked to the commissioners from Custer County, and I took this up with some folks over in the White House yesterday, and they've got a levy that they're trying to do. I think that's reasonable. I mean, truth is that would be a reasonable expenditure, in my opinion. By the way, roads and bridges would be a reasonable expenditure too, but I do think it's going to be taken care of in an infrastructure.
Thank you, Senator. We've got another question from Zach Brown, Commissioner from Gallatin County.
Thanks, Dan, and thank you, Senator Tester. I was curious if your team has any thoughts, if we're interested in pursuing projects related to our behavioral health system, mental health services. I think our system has taken a lot of hits in the last 5 or 6 years, and we're likely to see an uptick in demand after this shutdown and pandemic in terms of need for mental health services. If we were to look for resources that might be able to support projects in that behavioral health space, should we be looking at the $1.3 billion that the legislature is going to be appropriating, or are there other funds in the overall package that we should be looking at?
Yeah, so I'm gonna let Elizabeth jump on this in a second, but I do have a few things to say. First of all, you are correct. I think one of the things with the pandemic we were instructed to do is socially distance. If you have mental health issues, isolation is the last thing you want to have happen. So I agree with you. I think that the mental health issues are going to climb because of this pandemic. We just had a hearing yesterday or day before yesterday on the VA committee, and we're seeing it starting to climb again. And I think that general population is the same way. There's a couple things. There's about $8.5 billion for rural hospitals. Some of that money absolutely could be used for mental health. And I will talk. Let me kick it over to Elizabeth to see if any of that county money or state money could be used for that. Elizabeth, can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, I think we're still waiting on final guidance from the Treasury Department, but because there's been such a clear tie between folks' mental health and the isolation that the pandemic has caused, I expect that would be an allowable use for your county money, that extra money that the state has if they're going to run a program like that. And then there may be additional money, as the senator said, either through VA or HHS, even Department of Education for some children. So let me talk to some of my colleagues about that, and I will circle back with you.
Hey, Senator, if I can, and Zach,
Yes.
it's good to see you. Well, some of this local money, one would think that you'll be able to make the case for why it's needed. There are some other programs within the American Rescue Plan that are specifically targeted at mental health. There's $1.5 billion for mental health block grants. There's a whole host of other ones that you'll see roll out, whether it's through HHS or the VA. I'm happy to send that along. And maybe what I'll do, Eric, since you and I chat a bunch, is I'll just send some of that information to you directly. And so if anyone on the call wants to connect to learn more about the mental health side, I'll get it to Eric. But that's a great question, Commissioner. Sorry, Zach, calling you Zach. I've known you too long. Thank you.
And I will be happy to distribute that. I think that is going to be a pressing need for all of us in the very near future. And I think this money can go a long ways to looking at redesigning that system entirely. And I'm going to go back again to the distribution formula with this bill. You guys are getting the money. You're going to get Treasury guidance, and you can spend it in accordance with Treasury guidance. But mitigating mental health and chemical dependency issues associated with this pandemic, I believe, will be allowable uses.
Right.
Thank you. We've got another question from Darren, Commissioner Darren Misk. I want to say, or Misk in Weevil County. So go ahead, Darren.
Yes, Mr. Tester, we have an issue here in Weevil County. Our broadband in the north part of our county is non-existent, and we're under CenturyLink's possession, and Mid Rivers is trying to help, but they are not eligible to receive any federal dollars for our county. So it's putting us in a big predicament. We're under CenturyLink's power and they do nothing for us. And so we've even contacted the PSC trying to get rid of them. So no more federal dollars go to companies like that are not willing to set money and actually provide a service for telephone or broadband. So anything you can do there would loosen those strings so Mid Rivers could move in and actually do something more for our county that they already are. They're provided it out south. So I think you know where I'm going with that. So I just wanted to add my 2 cents there. So thank you.
Darren, I'm going to tell you something. I feel your pain, and CenturyLink has been a total pain in my butt. I'll just tell you that. And compared to the work that the co-ops are doing, you know, these guys acquired it through acquisition, and they don't give a damn about rural America. And it doesn't matter if you're in Webo or if you're over here in Teton, it's the same thing. And we have been pushing them to get rid of their assets in Montana. Quite frankly, it's a hell of a thing to say, but it's true. So that we can get somebody who actually knows the area and knows how to get things done. We're going to continue that. There's some hitches in the taxes that are stopping them from getting rid of their property, and we're going to try to get that fixed so that they will, so that we can have people serve you. In the meantime, we're going to look for workarounds, every one we can find.
Thank you.
For that.
So it looks like we're about ready, running out of time for what we had reserved with Senator Tester. Before we let him go, first of all, thank you, Senator, for joining us. I think these are always really helpful. But secondly, you always have amazing staff, and your staff is always great and responsive. And so when questions come up from these town hall meetings or general operations and things like that, pat your folks on the back. They're really good to work with, and they're really responsive, and we really appreciate that.
Eric, I'm very proud of my staff, and their job is to make sure that we're working for a conduit to make sure this stuff works for everybody in Montana, including the counties. And so I just want to say thanks for that, and I will pat them on the back, and you just have patted them on the back, which is pretty damn nice. And I would just say, just stay in touch on this. This is a big deal, and I think this can do things for everybody in the state of Montana, every single county, that can make a noticeable difference in how you're able to do business and create business opportunities. So with that, thanks, Eric, and I'm gonna head out. And thank you all. Take care. Have a great Easter.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
So Dan, we'll have, I think I told the commissioner to join us at 12:30-ish, and they're going to send me a text when she gets on, and Julie Ring, my counterpart in Minnesota, is going to do her introduction. But I know Tara is here, and we have a couple of pressing issues that we can fill in for legislative updates, and I'm going to have her go first with a special request.
Great.
Okay, so you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so this morning in House Business, there was an amendment put on Senate Bill 260, which is a property interest takings bill. And up until today, that bill had excluded land use from being a takings. The amendment today is specifically targeted at land use. And what it now says, and they passed it out, it will be going to the House floor soon. It says that if someone can claim that their property value has been diminished by 25% or more due to a land use action, so that could be enacting a growth policy, regulations for zoning, whether citizen or county imposed zoning, putting conditions on subdivisions, that if the person can prove that their property values have been diminished by 25% or more, they can file an action against the county. That's going to really put a damper on land use activities across the state, because you'll have to be trying to somehow figure out if you're impacting properties for every land use action you take. The only good thing in the amendment is that it doesn't include a neighboring parcel of land, but this will drastically stop land use across the state. So we're going to be asking all of you to contact your representatives and ask them to oppose Senate Bill 260. No questions? Great.
Actually, I do have one, Tara, just to double clarify that. So that would not be against a private landowner against another private landowner? Say a wind farm was put across the fence from my house and I'll go to sell that house, and that would be excluded from that, Bill?
So if the county had taken, that's a really good question. So the bill limits the land use actions to growth policies, planning boards, zoning, subdivision actions, and sanitation. So unless you had zoning that dealt with a wind farm, no. But if there was zoning in the county that dealt with wind farms, then yes, you could sue the county, not the wind farm, you're suing the county.
Want to come in and get it? That's great. If you need to set up time.
So I put in the chat box the request, Senate Bill 260. It's coming to the House floor. We need everybody to reach out to every single one of your House members. The bill is moved along party lines, and the impetus behind the bill was really to try and find a way for the state government to compensate for lost profit for businesses shut down in the pandemic. That's where the bill started, and it has changed dramatically.
Eric, Tara, Andy, Lewis and Clark, Dan, may I?
Yep. So Andy's got a question, Tara.
Just about, hello. Thank you for your answers on the other questions that I emailed you, but on this bill, Eric and Tara, will you be, I know you want us to contact folks, but is there some specific points you want us to make? Maybe when you can send us out some information about things we want to hit, make sure that our folks know what's important about this one. So anyway, I'm just gonna.
I am working on talking points right now.
So I hope to get those out by email this afternoon. This is sort of hot off the press, and I wanted her to talk about it in person. So we'll be following up with emails.
All right, Eric, are your guests ready to go? I see Mary Jo McGuire has joined us.
That would be contingent on Miss Ring joining us for her introduction, and I see Julie. So this is my version of an introduction. Julie's my counterpart in Minnesota. She's much nicer and much smarter than I am, so she's going to do the introduction.
I don't know about that, but I do know that I've enjoyed working with Eric for the last couple of years since he joined you all. He's been a great addition to our group of state execs. So thank you, Eric, for that. And thank all of you for inviting us to join you here today. It's my pleasure to introduce Ramsey County Commissioner Mary Jo McGuire, who is a candidate for NACo second vice president. We appreciate having a couple minutes with you today. So just for your information, Mary Jo was elected to the county board in 2012, and she represents 6 suburban counties in communities here in Ramsey County, including the one coincidentally where I happen to personally live. And in addition to her leadership within NACo, she's a leader in our state association. So I've had the opportunity to work closely with Mary Jo. Mary Jo is also, I know, very proud to be a lifelong resident of Ramsey County and honored to serve as a representative in the community where she was born and raised. So with that, I know what you really want is to hear from the candidate. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary Jo. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Julie. Is this good? Is this good sound? Thank you. Thank you so much, Julie and Executive Director Bryson and members of the Montana Association of Counties. It's great to be here virtually, although I really wish I was there in person so I could take advantage of your beautiful state and perhaps ski again at Big Sky, where I was lucky to be and I enjoyed my time there so much. So it'd be great to be back there. So I am Mary Jo McGuire. I'm a Ramsey County Commissioner from Minnesota, and I am excited to be a candidate for second vice president. Let me begin by saying that I love counties and I love what we do. I think we all know and appreciate that this is truly where people come together to get the job done. County governments of all shapes and sizes are currently facing unprecedented challenges on the front line of essential public health and safety efforts. I've dedicated my time, energy, and passion to service and believe my strengths make me uniquely qualified to lead us through this together. Let me begin by telling you a little bit about myself. I grew up as the second oldest of 6 children in Falcon Heights, Minnesota, a suburb of St. Paul, and home of the Minnesota State Fair, which I love, and home to our newly named snow plows, Plowy McPlowface, Darth Blader, and Plow Bunyan. Yes, we name our snow plows here. Growing up, I was busy participating in many activities, including 4-H, campfire, skating, and softball. I loved spending time with my family and friends, biking, hiking, participating in almost any outdoor activity. I'm an active member of our local Rotary, Optimist Club, and business councils. I'm starting my 9th year on my county board and spent 16 years as a state legislator. While in office, I worked hard with my colleagues to make sure that we operated in a transparent, efficient, and cost-effective manner. We have restructured our county government to make sure that our core services best support all our residents. And I'm proud to have earned the support of a wide variety of community organizations, including the endorsement from my local Chamber of Commerce. My participation in NACo and my own state association has really fueled my passion for all that counties do. This is where I learned to be a strong and effective leader. It is in this spirit that I have decided to run for a leadership office with NACo. My focus has always been on seeking and implementing solutions that improve the lives of others, and that is why I'm running for NACo's second vice president. I've been an active leader with NACo and with my own state association and have had the opportunity to talk with and listen to people all across the country. I've learned that whether you're from rural, urban, or suburban community, we all want and need resilient, vibrant, and healthy counties. We are all in this together. With NACo, the more involvement and participation we get from all our counties and partners, the stronger we will be. One of the most important contributions anyone can make to NACo is to show up and participate in the work. I feel that I do this with passion, energy, and a positive attitude. I'm an active member of the NACo network and have enjoyed getting to know many of you. Specifically, I have served in many leadership positions, including chair and vice chair of Healthy Counties, vice chair of Programs and Services, and I'm a longtime member of the Justice and Public Safety Committee, serving on several of its subcommittees. As NACo's second vice president, my top 3 priorities will be increasing membership and engagement by ensuring that all counties see themselves reflected in NACo's work. And number 2, growing our partnership with Congress and the administration. NACo has just had an incredibly successful year, advocating for our county's needs in responding to the pandemic. We need to continue educating the administration and Congress on the expansive role that counties play and how we can help each other to collectively better serve our residents. And number 3, bringing America together. We are a country of many viewpoints and backgrounds. I will work to help us focus on the values that we share, as we have always been stronger when we work together. In conclusion, if you remember one thing about my remarks, I hope it is that I am totally dedicated to the continued growth and success of NACo and what we offer our counties. I know the work, I can do the work, and together we will move forward for the benefit of our residents and counties. I look forward to connecting with you in the coming months. Please feel free to call me at 651-560-6231 or contact me at maryjomcguire.com, where you can see my video. I'm anxious to learn what's important to you and your county and how we can best move forward together. I'm excited about this opportunity to serve you, and I ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Julie, thank you for that. And I'm wondering if before you guys disappear, can you put some contact information in the chat bar? So you're very fast with your phone number and I couldn't write it down fast enough.
Absolutely. We'll absolutely put that in the chat.
Thank you. And then on one final note, the COVID pandemic ruined our opportunity as a state association organization to come to wonderful Duluth in, I think, October, wasn't it? So I'm hoping that when the pandemic goes away, I'll get an invitation back to Duluth.
You bet you will, Eric. Our state execs like to get together once a year and learn from each other. And I've been trying to tempt everyone to Duluth on the shores of Lake Superior right as the gales of November hit. So I've really been giving it a hard sell to everyone.
It's a great time to be in Duluth. Oh my.
It's a cold time that I know people from Montana can handle.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. We'll get that in the chat. So
very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see we have Chantel joining us now, fresh off of her bill signing for the first MACo bill across the table. Do you want to give us an update, Chantel?
I don't really have much to update everyone on. I mean, I was at a bill signing yesterday and I was at a bill signing today, and now I have 2 pens. So that's a fun update. They are really nice pens too.
I think one of
guess
those is technically my pen, right?
Nope. Nope. I'm gonna give it to Ty. Let's see. Election bills. 169. It's the voter ID bill. Went across the House floor this week. That one significantly changes voter ID laws. There was an amendment on the floor to take the student ID off of a primary ID and make it so now you need a second piece of identification with it, like an energy bill or something to that effect. And also made it so that your voter ID cards don't count. So I don't even know what the point is of really issuing them, but that bill is effective upon passage and approval. And House Bill 176, which is the bill that makes it so same-day voter registration is no longer a thing. Voter registration will end Monday at noon as soon as that bill is signed, effective upon passage and approval. And those are the 2 big updates there. House Bill 406 is the BIPA 2.0 bill. The Ballot Interference Protection Act is being revised. MACo and the clerk and recorders testified against the bill. We do understand the concerns of large-scale ballot collection. We recommended a study be done because this affects a lot of people, and none of the stakeholders were invited to the table. Also, just 6 months ago, it was found unconstitutional and permanently enjoined. So we thought it might be good to get together and figure out how to fix the issue as opposed to just bringing legislation that will likely go back to court again. The committee was pretty confused by the end of the hearing, and we talked to the chair of the committee, and he thinks the committee is about 50-50 split on it. We do have some suggestions for amendments that we think could potentially fix the bill and take out the issues that that we see a big issue being spouses not being able to drop off their their partner's ballot, or grandkid dropping off grandma's ballot, or family things, and even your friend's ballot, just the one-offs. That's not who the sponsor is intending to affect with this, but unfortunately that's how the bill is written. And I think we got through to the chair of the committee about that, and he's allowing us to work with the staffer to put some amendments on the bill. He hasn't guaranteed that he will pick up the amendments, but he has allowed us to at least work with the staffer and then review the amendments. And something that we're sort of thinking of is these groups that want to go around collecting ballots, they have to do it more like the clerk and recorders do at their drop sites. There has to be 2 people. There will be a box with a seal on it, so like a zip tie with a seal that can't be broken. They have to still register. Those ballots come in when they are checked in. If there's any, tape on them or anything like that, then they get their provisional So we do have some ideas there, and we're hoping that the committee looks kindly upon them. We think it does actually improve upon election law. So that's 406, and those are the election bills as of now.
Any questions on election stuff in general?
No, just which two bills did you sign, Shanny?
House Bill 104, which I had nothing to do with. It was it's our MACo bill.
My
That's
bill.
actually
Yep,
Eric was supposed to be there.
Okay.
And then yesterday I was in on Senate Bill 15. It's Senator Ellis's bill. It has to do with disabilities and elections. So those are the two.
It looks like
I
we
had-
have a hand up from Mary Armstrong. I don't know, Mary, if you have a question for Chantel, or is it from some other comment?
No, I'm sorry. I tried to put it down. I had a question for Senator Tester, so I'm good.
Okay. All right, and then we've got a hand up from FDE Priest.
Yes, Chantel, what about House Bill 613?
I knew you were going to ask about that. Okay, so last week, or was it this week? Last week, they did a work group. I think these weeks are running together. They did a work group to amend that bill. It has been amended in such a way that it sort of adds that wandering medicine agreement stuff to code. There are quite a few tribes that jumped in on call, and they weren't for those amendments. They wanted it a little bit more how the bill was previously written, where you would have to have the 2 satellite offices. They'd have to be permanent, and it wouldn't be so much just working with the counties on an agreement, and then that location would be more permanent. And if you wanted to change it, then you would meet again and change it. And that's how the bill currently is. That bill did pass out of committee in a way that we think is workable. But I don't think, no matter how workable that bill is, it's going to have a really tough time in the Senate. And I think it may even have a tough time on the House floor, but we'll see. I think with the moderates, they may pull votes on the House, but in the Senate, it's just going to be, rough. So that's 613.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other Chantel related questions? Along those lines of bill signings, we have all of our bills, with the exception of the one mental health bill, are still in play. All of them are on the other side. Most of them are out of committee. Several of them are in enrollment and waiting to be signed. So if you're interested in a MACo specific bill and want to be there for the bill signing, we don't get a whole lot of heads up notice, but we can start sending out that information if you want to come. McGinley, I know you're going to ask. Yours isn't there yet.
It's on the Senate floor this afternoon, I think.
Yes. And then, just because it was my bill today that I wasn't there for, in my 3 sessions of lobbying, I have never once participated in a bill signing, and I don't intend to start participating now. But I do want Chantel to grab me a pen. I want to backtrack just real briefly. Oh, go ahead, Chilcott.
Dave, what prevailing wage was that tabled?
Yes.
Can you resurrect that?
I watched. They didn't have much discussion on it, and I think it only had 2 votes. There are a whole bunch of proxies that were voted, and I haven't got a chance to follow up with any of those guys in person to see what their objection to it was.
It really surprised me, and maybe it'd be the sponsor. I don't know.
It might be somebody. One of them will tell me. I was shocked.
Yeah, me too. If we can help resurrect it, let me know. Or is it gone for the session?
They can pull it back off the table. There's an option for that to happen. But let me find out what the objection to it was. There was a lot of opposition testimony, but there was on the Senate side too. So
yeah, the Contractors Association came out in favor of it. It was the unions that killed it, and I would have thought in that committee and then the legislature in general, that wouldn't have carried the weight it apparently did, unless there's something I'm not seeing.
It's the party line primarily, but they pulled those Cascade County conservative Republicans.
Is Briggs on this phone?
He's the one that would help untable it, and I don't see him on here.
I haven't.
Follow up.
Thanks.
I do want to backtrack really briefly just to talk about the ARPA funds and what we think is coming next. As the senator said, we'll get guidance coming out from Treasury hopefully soon because the checks are coming. And the checks aren't coming, as we understand it, until counties do what looks like a letter of intent, some sort of statement of intended use to Treasury. And what we posted on our website that showed that total allocation for ARPA funds, remember that's your funding over 2 years. You do your letter or your whatever process they're going to create for you to request the funds, they'll cut a check for half of it. And then a year from now, they'll cut the check for the second half, as long as you're in compliance with whatever reporting requirements are out there. But think about this. We are going to have some significant capacity issues in the state of Montana. Finding an engineer or an architect or a contractor or a project manager when we've flooded the entire United States with billions and billions of dollars for everything from building retrofits to water and sewer to broadband infrastructure. It's going to be really difficult, and it's going to cause price increases, and we're going to have to weather this and try and work in coordination with the state in phasing some of the projects that they want to get done at the same time that you'll have some of your projects wanting to get done. Because frankly, we won't have the capacity in the skilled labor and engineering and architecture necessary to get this money out as fast as we need to get it out. And I think your money is going to be restricted to be used within 4 years, and I think the state's money is not. So if there's any opportunity to coordinate and prioritize and stage, it's that the county project should be done first. And I don't say that just because I represent the counties. I say that because we're pretty clear that the state gets to hold their money until it's spent, while you'll have some timeframes on when you can get it and how you can spend it. That, along with on the heels of what Senator Tester said about a probable and serious infrastructure package on its heels, that's going to be a capacity issue for us as well. So even if Congress is successful in passing an infrastructure bill that broadens the use and funnels money, especially for local governments, for things like roads and bridges, be patient. This is going to be a long haul to try and get some of the projects done if we get additional infrastructure money. And I just say that as a word of caution. If you want something to pay attention to, both in terms of the ARPA funding and the legislature, House Bill 632 is the bill. It'll look different tomorrow than it did today, and it'll look different 2 days, and then it'll look completely different as it goes to the Senate. But it is the carrier that's going to provide the authorization for the legislature to spend their money, distribute your money, the city's money, I should say, and if they accidentally or intentionally want to fund additional projects, House Bill 632 will be the venue in which they do that. That's the one that's got amendments that have punishments for COVID restrictions, and it likely will include some provision for $1 match on projects. However it's going to sort out, that's the bill to pay attention to going forward. And on your behalf, we're having those quiet conversations about striking out provisions on COVID restrictions and eliminating anything that looks like a cash match. I don't know if we'll be successful. And again, the bill will change every day because it's the vehicle that they're going to get over to Senate Finance and Claims and do all the final pieces of work to put authorization in the legislature for the expenditures. Any questions about ARPA?
Eric, I'm just going to jump in for a second. I was watching appropriations this morning, and they did pretty much wrap up discussions on 632 for the time being. And so over the weekend, their staffer, Julie, is going to be putting the amendment to the amendment into a form where it's a viewable bill by Monday. So Monday, that's what they'll be reviewing. And if you want to look at what's being thrown together, if you go to our website on the homepage, we have that big slider and there's a link to our weekly hearing schedule. You can click on that, and then there's a link to the ARPA page there, or on that slider, there's a link to our ARPA page on that slider. So if you click there, you scroll down, the materials are right there, and you can go through and kind of look at what they're doing and how they've broken it into these different sections.
I want to do public health bill update, and we can still take questions. So if you're thinking about them, raise your hand or get in the queue. House Bill 121 is Representative Beatty's bill. It's the one I refer to affectionately as the deep dive, and the one that we've been supporting in opposition to all the rest of the bills. I have a meeting, it's supposed to be 3:30 this afternoon in the governor's office, and it's moved to Monday to talk about that being the final bill, because that one's through, and a carrier for any additional amendments that might need to be placed on that bill without sending it back through the process, i.e. governor's amendments. If there's additional language that needs to be placed on there, we're hearing that some coordinating language with the federal definition of quarantine or isolation might need to be added. I know Flathead County asked for additional clarification on what the governing body definition looks like, but I'll be able to work with the governor's office directly on governor's suggested amendments to that bill. And we have a commitment from the governor's office that all the other bills will die. So we've been lobbying against them. We've been tabling them in committee. We've been doing all the work behind the scenes that's necessary, that all the other public health authority related bills should die. And if they don't die, I want to get an assurance from the governor's office that they'll be vetoed. There are 2 bills that are still alive and frankly aren't good bills. And 121 is, I know it's not great, and I know everybody doesn't love it, and I know we shouldn't be messing around with public health authority in the middle of a pandemic, but something was going to happen, and House Bill 121 is the best of the bunch. So that all is still in play as of today. Any questions on public health? Please remember, at the beginning of the session, I said I didn't want to have anything to do with public health bills. General questions. I don't have much more of a update stuff. The legislature's weird. The temperature's weird. People are getting owly up there. They're doing crazy things in executive action, and it's just going to get more weird.
I don't see any hands being raised, and I don't see any new comments. For those of you interested, Mary Jo McGuire did add her contact information in the chat. So if you want to jot that down.
I see Commissioner Brown is laughing. Maybe we can go to him for words of wisdom on the last 25 days of a legislative session.
No, no words of wisdom, but you said it perfectly that things are getting weird. I mean, hopefully the really unhelpful things sort of get sorted out as we move along, but you just never know.
I agree. Folks, you're going to get off early today, and we'll schedule this again in 2 weeks. Look for the blast announcement on SB, we call it 260, I think.
260.
SB 260, and I'm serious. It's going to take every single one of you calling, and texting, and harassing the heck out of both sides of the aisle to try and get this thing killed on the House floor. I'm not entirely sure we can do it, but I know we can't do it unless you guys do the outreach.
Where's Jason today? Is he still limping from 355?
He took a butt kicking. He did really well. Actually, the whole presentation was good this morning. This is on the Daniels County bill. But tourism industry from across the state lined up, and I think they had 30 some opponents in person and by Zoom begging the committee not to take their money. And so, yes, he has a lunch date, and then I told him to disappear this afternoon.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, that was a brutal hearing, I thought. So
he did well.
He did well.
If there's no more words of wisdom, folks, you're all excused.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Yep. We'll see you all again on April 9th.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.